everybody to another Division 2 build video. Now if the opening clip wasn't an indication, this is indeed a PvP build. Now, it's also PvE as well, but it's been carefully put together primarily for PvP. It simply annihilates the competition. You almost feel like you're cheating because of how much damage this build dishes out, and extremely fun to use all the while. So keep it here, find out exactly how this build is put together, but like always, at the end of the video, I would appreciate if you smash that like button to show your appreciation for the video. And if you're new to my channel, welcome, and subscribe. Check out my channel for lots more videos. But with that being said, let's get into the build, shall we? Alright, so I'm going to go through the build breakdown piece by piece. There are a few key components, a few key pieces that you must have in order for this build to work. We're going to start from the top though with the specialization. We are using the flamethrower. I'll explain. Well, no, I'll tell you exactly why. First of all, it has a really good medkit, which gives you an additional 2% armor and health over the course of 10 seconds. It also gives you 30% health and kill, which is never a bad thing. In group, it is very useful because it also gives gives your allies an additional 10% damage when they're within 10 meters or less of you. Because we are using the flamethrower, we're also using the striker ballistic shield, but I'll go into that a little bit later in the video. For the primary weapon of choice, you're going to want to use the Vector primarily because of its insane RPM, which you can see on the screen, 1200. I feel that the faster you're spitting out bullets, the quicker you are putting your opponent down. Now, as far as how I have this Vector modded, with a PvP crit build, which is basically what we have here. The rule of thumb is that you want to cap your crit chance at 60% or come as close to as possible. So on my vector, I'm using a 5% crit chance on the sight. On the laser pointer, another 5% crit chance. On the muzzle, I got another 5% crit chance, and of course on the mag, I'm using the extended, which gives you a plus 20 rounds. Now, as far as attributes, you can see that this vector is nowhere near God rolled, yet it still slaps. Just imagine with a God rolled vector how much more damage you could do. Core attribute, I got 13% SMG damage, 15% crit chance, and plus 8% damage to targets out of cover. Now, where this vector shines is, of course, in the talent and sync. There's a reason why I'm using NSYNC, and I'll explain in just a second. But let me read the talent so that you understand exactly how this talent works. So it says hitting an enemy grants plus 15% skill damage for 5 seconds. Pretty straightforward. Now, second part, it says using a skill or damaging an enemy with a skill grants plus 15% weapon damage. So right off the bat, as long as you are using a skill or you're damaging someone with a skill, you're gaining 15% weapon damage. Now, the cream of the crop on this talent is the third part where it says damage increases are doubled while both buffs are active at the same time. So you have both of your skills active at the same time. You're gaining an additional 15% skill damage and, you're gaining an additional 30% skill damage and 30% weapon damage, which in my opinion right now, this is probably the best talent for weapon damage on in a PvP build. Let's take a look quickly at, because you're probably thinking, well, measured also gives you 30% weapon damage when you're at the second half of the magazine. And you're right. But you also lose 20% rate of fire, whereas with NSYNC, you don't lose any RPM. So this just takes it to just another level. Um, Secondary weapon of choice, really you can use whatever you want. I like to use any type of shotgun, just for those clutch moments where, you know, I didn't quite finish off my opponent. I ran out of bullets on my vector. I'll just quickly switch to my shotgun and finish off the opponent. And for the sidearm, again, it's pretty much you're, you're you're not making use of the, at least not in this build. So don't worry about the pistol. Now let's get into the individual gear pieces. Now for the mask, and I still am a strong believer that this is still the best mask for any PvP build. You may think different. This is just my personal opinion. Why is the Coyote's mask, as far as I'm concerned, the best? Well, because it's a talent that only has pros. There's no cons to this talent. You are pretty much gaining crit damage, whether it's crit damage or crit chance, from any distance. You can see the talent there. I'm not gonna go through it. You should all know by now, or you can pause the video and read it. But you're basically gaining crits. Doesn't matter at what distance you are from your enemy, you are gaining that crit. So this is why, in my opinion, guys, this is the mask to use. Now, there are the talent on the chest and the talent on the backpack are two talents that, if you don't use them, this build just won't work because of the synergy of these two talents. Now, on the chest, it's Intimidate, which gives you bonus out. It gives you 35% weapon damage when you have bonus armor, and I'll show you in a bit how you get that bonus armor to make use of the 35% weapon damage. Which, if you also recall on the vector, when you have both of your skills active, you're gaining an additional 30% weapon damage. So here you have an additional 35. So the weapon damage is just getting stacked on top of each other. As far as how I have this chest, I went with a Sokolov chest because you want at least one piece Sokolov for the plus 10% SMG damage. It's not the greatest chest. It's probably subpar, but for now it does the job. I have 11% weapon damage on it, 12% crit damage is what I rolled, 4.6 crit chance, and I also inserted a plus 12% crit hit damage mod. Moving on to the holster, I went with one piece Grupo Sombra for that additional 15% crit damage. Now, if you're having trouble, let's say, maxing out your crit chance, you could also use, for example, Cheska. You could use as well. It gives you that additional 10% crit hit chance. But if you're pretty much at the 60 cap, I recommend to go with one piece Grupo Sombra to gain 15% critical hit damage just for having one piece on. 13.6 weapon damage is on the core and 5.7% crit hit chance, and I rolled 12% critical hit damage on it. Now, the backpack, I told you, you need these two items, these two talents to make this build work. We are using the named Walker and Harris backpack, the Matador, because it comes with the perfect talent Adrenaline Rush, which reads as follows. Whenever you are within 10 meters of an enemy, you gain 23% bonus armor. So this is how you make use of Intimidate. Adrenaline Rush gives you that bonus armor when you're within 10 meters of your enemy, and then automatically Intimidate will proc, giving you that 35% weapon damage. So this is why you want both of these talents for this build. As far as the attributes, I maxed out the armor, 170. It came with 5.9 headshot damage. Nothing I could do about that. I would prefer to have crit damage there. 6% crit chance, and I inserted a 11.9 critical hit damage. On the gloves, I also went with armor. Actually, this is a 3 and 3. You could go all red. Um, you'll be doing crazy more damage. Your total weapon damage will probably be close to the 100k mark. But then, of course, you know what happens when you're all red. You're basically a glass cannon. So I went with 3 and 3 to give me at least some type of survivability. Um, Even though half the time it doesn't even feel like it makes a difference, but what can you do, right? So on the gloves, you want the name Petrovs, of course, the contractor's gloves. These gloves are just, I mean, irreplaceable, right? You want that 8% damage to armor. It's basically the reason why you are using these gloves because it helps when you're fighting those tanky players. It gives you that extra little edge to melt through their armor. And the attribute is a 10.8 critical hit damage underneath the damage to armor. And lastly, the knee pads, of course, you also want the named overlords, which are the Fox's Prayer, for that plus 8% damage to target out of cover. Um, 170 on the armor and 10.8 on the critical hit damage. So clearly, you guys know this isn't a maxed out build. I'm still working on optimizing it. But for now, it's super strong and fun to use. Now, let's get into the skills because the skills have a lot to do with, for example, the talent in sync, and I'll explain why. So, quickly again, it says using a skill or damaging an enemy with a skill grants 15% weapon damage. So we use the shield because the shield automatically, as you have it active, it pretty much um, procs the part that says using a skill. So I mean, if you didn't know that, now you do. It doesn't have to be um, you know secret mine or a hive. The shield automatically, when you have it blocking and shielding you, it makes NSYNC work. And then for the second skill, because remember you want two active skills to be able to make use of the third part of this talent, where it says damage increases are doubled while both buffs are active at the same time. So before you engage on your enemy, you seek your drone at them. Once you have your drone locked in on your enemy, you approach them, you take out your shield, and then right away that buff is currently active. That 30% additional skill damage and 30% weapon damage. That is how these two skills also synergize with each other to make use of the talent in sync. Um, and that is pretty much the build, guys. Now, if you don't have the contractor's gloves or the Fox's prayers, I would recommend you farm them in the allocated loot pool. And of course, um, the Matador, you don't necessarily have to have this named one. You can get away with just the regular Adrenaline Rush. It doesn't change very much. I believe it's just the 23%, I believe, is reduced. If I'm not mistaken, you guys can correct me in the comment section below. So if you're not lucky enough to have the Matador named backpack, you can use any other backpack. It doesn't have to be Walker and Harris either. I just like that weapon damage that Walker and Harris gives you. But you can use any other backpack as long as you are using Adrenaline Rush as your talent. So let me quickly go over the stats for you. As you can see, our base weapon damage is at 81. PvP is 27. There's our crit chance maxed out at 60. And our critical hit damage is at 152.5, which can still go up if all my attributes are maxed out, of course. 55 on the headshot damage, 8% armor damage, and that's pretty much what you guys need to see. 54.6% on weapon damage bonus and 38% submachine gun damage bonus. Also, you'll notice that my watch is still not maxed out. I wish I could, you know, farm and grind this game every day, but life gets in the way, so I'm still missing out on the additional 10%, crit damage. Anyways, you guys know um, what I mean. Give this build a shot, guys. Trust me, it's a lot of fun. You are going to be doing a lot of damage in skirmish or the dark zone, and yeah, let me know in the comment section too what you think, suggestions or comments, how you run this build, if it's similar or different. And like always, guys, I will catch you on the next one. Peace out.